Today's list is all Deadpool and Wolverine spec. When is it gonna end? What is shaking, YouTube? This is your host, Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and I remind you guys, welcome back to the show. Today is everybody's favorite video. It is the Hot 10 Comics of the Week breakdown, where I go over the 10 hottest comics according to the Key Collector app, and I let you guys out there know if I'm buying or selling these books. But as you guys know, before we get started in every video, I remind you guys, if you're not a current sub of the channel, you guys are definitely missing out. I'm giving away some awesome stuff once we get to 8,000 subs, and we're about 350 away. I can't wait to do it. With that said, smash that like button for me. It really does help the channel out. With that said, let's get into this week's breakdown. Starting off the list at number 10 is a new book, Wolverine Origins number 10, and the first appearance of Daken, the son of Wolverine and Itsu. And we just had a CGC 9.8, sold for $328, up 18% over the average. You guys know I'm not a big buyer of 9.8s, especially modern books, but I can imagine there are going to be a lot more 9.9s coming of every modern book out there. With that said, I'm not spending $300 on this book. I just don't see the value in it. Wait for after Deadpool and Wolverine come out, and maybe it'll drop. Coming in at number 9 this week, another new book to the list. It is a copy of The Joker number 1 and the first solo title Joker series. And we just had a CGC 9.6, so for a crazy $437, up 1% over the average. I gotta tell you guys this, I have seen this book at many LCS for really cheap, so I'm not sure why anyone would want to spend over $400 on a 9.6. I just don't see the value in doing that. With that said, if you can get this book for cheap, around 20 to 25 bucks in lower grades, I'd be all over it. Anything else, I'm staying away. I am shocked that this book is only at number 8 this week. It is a copy of Hulk number 1 and the first cover appearance of Red Hulk, General Thunderbolt Ross. And we just had a CGC 9.8, sold for $375, up an insane 49% over the average. Who out there is buying this book right here, right now? We have known for quite a while that the Red Hulk is coming to this movie. With that said, right now you should be selling this book and not buying it. Hell, you should have sold it already. Back on the list at number 7 this week is a copy of Deadpool Merc with a Mouth number 7 and the first appearance of Lady Deadpool. And last week we had a CGC 9.8, sold for $400, up another 24% over the average. Right now there's a big rumor out there that Taylor Swift is not going to be in this movie, and also that Blake Lively, if she is playing Lady Deadpool, will not show her face in Deadpool and Wolverine. What does that tell you? I'm not going out and buying this book right here, right now. Hell, I never would have bought this book on the speculation that they're going to be in Deadpool and Wolverine 3. With that said, after the movie comes out, if you still want to buy this book and it drops a lot, you want to own it, be my guest. But right now, I'm staying away. At number 6 this week is another new book to the list. It is a copy of Punisher, the limited series number 1, and the first solo series featuring the Punisher. And last week we had a CGC 9.8 newsstand copy, sold for an insane $1,580, up a crazy 36% over that average. Then we had a CGC Direct Edition 9.4, sold for only $130, up another 2% over the average. I always see this book listed for under $100, so I'm not sure why anyone would spend that kind of money on a 9.4. Regardless, I gotta assume a lot of them out there are still near mint copies, so hell, I'm paying under $100 for a copy. If you have to pay more than that, I'd be definitely staying away. I love this Mike Zack cover though. Dropping to number 5 this week is a copy of Transformers number 1 and the first team appearance of the Autobots and the Decepticons. And last week we had a CGC 9.8, sold for a crazy $1,526, up 15% over the average. Then we had a lowly CGC 9.2, sold for $199, up again 16% over the average. You guys know how I feel about this book. I call it a nostalgia book. I love the 80s and I love 80s toys, especially the Transformers, but I don't want to spend a lot of money to own the first appearance of them in comics. I just don't see the value. With that said, if you could pick up a copy for cheap, I'd be all over it. I'm talking anywhere from $100 to $120. Anything over that, I think is overkill to me. How about some Bronze Age goodness? At number 4 is a copy of Iron Fist number 14 and the first appearance of Sabretooth. And we just had a CGC 9.6, sell for $1,260, up 4% over the average. Then we had a CGC 8.5 sell for only $630, but up 41% over the average. Someone has been listening to me and buying this book anywhere from a 7.0 to a 9.0. That's a sweet spot for this book. I still think it's worth it, and it's a definite a must-own in those grades. Anything over than a 9.0, in my opinion, it gets really expensive, so I try to get the book in the grades I just talked about. At number 3 this week is a copy of Silver Surfer #1, and the first solo Silver Surfer title and the origin of the Silver Surfer. And last week we had a CGC 8.0 sell for a crazy $1,750, up 9% over that average. Then we had a CGC 5.0 sale of only $623, up 25% over that average. What does it tell you? All the grades between, I think, a 3.0 and a 6.0, people are buying those copies because they're still affordable and I think undervalued. Anything in the high grades, it gets super complicated. I know this book can get really tough to get in high grade because of the black cover, but to me, I think anywhere, like I said, 3.0 to 6.0, I'm definitely a buyer of this book. How could we have a Hot 10 Comics of the Week without this one? It is a copy of New Mutants 98 and the first appearance of Deadpool. And for the second week in a row, we've only had a CGC 9.6 sell for $550, up 5% over the average. As I was saying, we haven't had a 9.8 on the Key Collector app in 2 weeks. What does that tell you? Maybe the hype is kind of dying down with this book. You know how I feel. I only want to own this book in a 9.8 or hell, even a 9.9. Other than that, I'd be staying away. And right now, I have to wait to after this movie to come out to see this book drop a hell of a ton before I go ahead and pick it up. And ditto for the top spot this week, it is a copy of Wolverine #1 and the first ongoing series featuring Wolverine. This is also an iconic cover by the great Frank Miller. And last week we had yet another CGC 9.8 sell for $690, up 6% over the average. Then we had a CGC 9.2 sale of only $220, up another 33% over the average. I tell you guys this every week, there are a ton of copies of this book out there. Yes, I want to own a copy for myself in my collection, but I only want to spend anywhere from $150 to around $200. That is a sweet spot. Anything more than that is overkill, and you're going to see what's going to happen to this book after this movie comes out. Hope you guys enjoyed the list. Again, a lot of new books are appearing on this list, but not a lot that I want to go ahead and buy right here, right now. It is now time for my best buy of the week, and I always say silver over bronze, but when it comes to a first appearance versus a non-first appearance, like Iron Fist #14 or Silver Surfer #1, I'm going to go with the first appearance, Iron Fist #14 and the first appearance of Sabretooth, but you cannot go wrong with either of these two books. Two great keys I want to own for the long term in my collection. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.